Welcome back to the Layman's Law School. It's a new year, new season.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Same crew. Yay. And we're all here today. So excited.
As I said earlier, the band is all back together.
Yes.
But Chase has got fancy now. We've still got our papers, and he's, looking super smart, like always, with his computer.
I don't want to
and
be
stuff.
folded like with my stack of
He's
papers
got an
that I
artificial
usually-
intelligent bot that is recording everything
I'm
and
sure.
giving him prompts and responses
Yes.
throughout this.
Yeah.
Actually, he's not even there.
He's going to
That's
sound
his-
witty.
that's AI
Yeah,
Chase.
this is a hologram.
Yeah,
of
that's
Chase.
right.
He's figured out how to be in multiple places at multiple times through holographic
Don't-
imagery.
People out there, don't let Chase fool you. He's a computer whiz, and so
Yep.
we just have to trust what he says
And
with
keep
his
feeding
computer
him Bud
stuff.
Light.
And keep feeding him Bud Light. I don't know how he's going to drink it with him not being here, but we'll see.
Reed, I don't know what this really says about you.
This says, what is it when
Like,
you just love the discomfort of
Schadenfreude
other-
is the word.
What's-
It's, for you, it's,
Hold
where
on.
you, it's a German word. And
Can
it
you let
means-
me intro this episode before?
Oh,
You're
I'm
so
sorry.
excited to torture Chase.
I haven't been able to get.
It's
get
late.
back.
It's late Friday afternoon.
I mean, it's
and
been
we've
over
been
a
dying
month.
for
The
this.
I know, it's been
holidays
over a
have
month.
ruined us not being able to give hatred and Bud Light to Chase. That's what
Ugh.
hatred's the wrong word. It's love and in a strange way. It's there you go.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
It's getting awkward is what
I
it's-
thought,
what's happening.
I don't find it awkward at all.
Well, we're gonna kick off the first episode recording of the year, talking about a Major League Baseball team's communications director who was dealing opioids to players out of the stadium, and management allegedly knew. You may be familiar with the overdose of Los Angeles Angels pitcher Tyler Skaggs. This was back in 2019, whose wrongful death case was just settled for what could be upwards of $60 to $100 million. So
We'll never know.
we'll never know, but we'll get to that later. By the end of this episode, you're going to learn when employees can be held liable for an employee's criminal actions, what knew or should have known means in negligence cases, and how wrongful death damages are calculated.
Yeah.
But first,
Yeah.
it's Friday, boys.
Yeah.
That's right.
What we got?
It's the first Friday. No, is it the first Friday of the new year?
No.
For
No,
us,
it's
it
the
is.
second.
It's the
For
us
second
it is,
Friday
yes.
Go ahead, Chase.
Clink.
Cheers.
Just so that Anheuser-Busch knows,
This is under
this does
duress.
taste better if we were
If it's
sponsored.
Oh, excellent point. Mm-hmm.
I do have a price.
So,
Yeah, so your discomfort, you'll suffer if it at a certain price.
I have a surprise,
Okay.
as does happen.
I
At,
don't love
I
surprises.
love surprises.
I hate surprises. So
well,
let's
but
go.
you'll like this one.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay. So, we're going to put something up on the screen.
Okay.
This is something that I've been working on.
Mm-mm.
And so coming in 2026, we have something very exciting for our followers. But we are going to have an apparel line.
Ah,
And this is a sneak peek
nice.
at one of our t-shirts that we're working on.
Oh, cool.
You can see, but first,
But first,
What
it's
a
right.
great surprise.
Yeah, I like it.
Yay!
Yeah, I'll definitely have to get one of those.
Mm.
Great news, you'll get one for free.
Yeah. No, that's
And
cool.
we'll
I
probably
like this.
we'll do something really special for our subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah.
We'll do a special discount
Yeah,
when it
we'll
does
have to
launch.
we'll have a couple giveaways.
And we'll do some giveaways.
Too. Yeah,
Yep,
for sure.
absolutely. So
For
let's
sure.
cheers again to that.
Yeah.
Cheers. What a great
Yes.
What a
surprise.
great, yeah, very nice.
Yay.
Good job, Lens.
All right.
As always.
And let us know in the comments. I would love to get your feedback on that design. We have a great freelance
very
designer
cool.
that works for us. That was not Lindsay that designed that. I
Is
farmed that
Pamela?
out to people who
Is
are
that-
much better.
Pamela?
Yes,
She's
yes,
always
Pam.
fantastic.
Pamela.
Always does
She
a great
is
job.
amazing. She's
Yep.
done our branding work for years
Long
and years,
time.
even before I was here. So
And a good person on top of everything.
yes. And so we're excited. I cannot wait to get one of those t-shirts.
Yeah,
They're
that's cool.
so
Well,
excited.
I mean, so you don't have them. That was just a tease.
No, it's a sneak peek.
Sneak peek.
I
Do
don't
you
like
not know
it.
the definition
I
of
don't like
sneak?
it.
It's like
Don't like it.
it's a teaser
It's
trailer.
a tease of a surprise.
That's what I'm saying. It's not even a surprise.
Well, I
You wasted
literally
the
just got it.
surprise.
So,
You're too excited. You couldn't hold it.
well, if you think about it, when I do finally have them, I will surprise you that day too.
It's kind of like, we just went through, the Christmas period, and I've spent, many times in my life where I was like,
Got coal. Yeah.
babe, I was going to get you this,
but
I waited too late, and it won't be here until February.
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what this is going to be like.
That's when you do the printout and you put
Valentine's
it in
Day.
a little bag.
Oh, yeah.
I got you. Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day.
Got you. All right. Well, let's talk about the facts of this case.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with it, Tyler Skaggs was a 27-year-old left-handed pitcher for the LA Angels.
Starter or
He's a
reliever?
starting pitcher.
Okay, thank you.
I knew Reed would know.
Yeah, Lindsay did not look that
and
up.
that is that. Well, it comes into play when you talk about future
Pressure.
wages and all that stuff. For
okay.
What you were talking about, how you value the case.
Right. We'll get to that. So on July the 1st of 2019, he was found dead in his hotel room in Dallas, Texas. The team was there on an away game series. And so the cause of his death was ruled as he choked on his own vomit, and the coroner found fentanyl, oxycodone, and alcohol in his system. He had snorted a counterfeit oxycodone pill laced with fentanyl. Don't mind me while I put my old lady glasses on.
We're all getting there, you know.
The supplier was the Angels' director of communications, Eric Kay, who had worked for the team since 1996, so 23 years at the time. Kay had provided the pills to Skaggs and was in Skaggs' hotel room the night that he died. So Kay himself was convicted in February of 2022 in federal court in Texas on 2 counts of drug distribution resulting in death plus drug conspiracy, and then sentenced to 22 years in prison. The interesting thing is that Kay was sent to Texas on that fatal road trip shortly after returning from rehab. He had been hospitalized for a drug overdose himself prior to that trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's not uncommon. You know, a lot of times that happens when, you know, you have a person who goes to rehab when their body's used to X amount, and they come back and do something, and that their body's not used to that amount, and so that happens.
Well, this was the distributor who was off getting
Oh, okay.
who was
I'm sorry.
ODing.
Gotcha.
But that's still a good point.
More about the knowledge aspect of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Kay allegedly told a Texas detective that years before Skaggs' death, he had informed the Angels VP, Tim Mead, that he had used drugs with Skaggs, but the front office claimed that they didn't know. But testimony revealed Kay's home was filled with drugs. He was hospitalized, as we already said, for an overdose, and yet he still kept his job that gave him direct access to players. So I'm going to hand this off to Reed.
All right.
Okay? As we discuss, we discuss the law
Think
part.
about the position before we even talk about it.
Yeah.
Think about the position of the
I'm going to hand this off to Sean.
director. I'm just asking a question. The director of communications for a Major League Baseball team is probably not somebody making $40,000 a year.
Sure.
Right.
They're probably making significant amounts of money.
Mm-hmm.
And it just goes to show you that whether or not it's, you know, somebody that's unemployed, somebody that makes $30,000 a year, or someone that's probably making $300,000-$400,000 a year as an executive at a Major League Baseball corporation is involved in this type of activity.
Right. So Reed actually brought this topic up to us.
Yeah.
And so he brought up the fact that, like, we could probably talk about the case itself and details of what went down.
Right.
But what you really want to talk about is
Sure.
the legal aspect of how the case itself worked and the Angels.
And just kind of how, you know, why the Angels are being sued and the real world applications of it. And, you know, as you all know, I'm a big baseball fan, and I know the history. I follow a bunch of stuff. And so one of the things I think is relevant is that, like, so in baseball, in the MLB through the 70s and 80s, I mean, they would have methamphetamines just everywhere. It was just crazy. I mean, they had a basket. They called them blueies, and you just grab them and you go. You know, everybody was on them. And so this is something that
These are called Blue Boys, by the way.
See,
Fun fact.
There you go. So this isn't uncommon, and they're trying to clean, and it, all intent and purposes, has been cleaned up. But you know, this is kind of the way things were. So it's not shocking to me, Sean, like when you were saying about the guy doing drugs with him or whatever, knowing about it. There's a history of it.
So they went from blueies
in
the 70s and 80s. At some point, they transitioned to anabolic steroids.
Yep, there you
and
go.
then they've moved out of that, and now they're back to blueies.
Right there. Well, now they're so. Before it was more uppers, and now it was steroids.
Now
and
it's
then
opiates.
It was opiates. Yeah. And I don't know how much of this is in the Skaggs case, but the people in Georgia will certainly remember Tommy Hansen, who was a fan favorite in Atlanta, a big time prospect, came up and did fantastic. They called him Big Red. Well, he was traded to the Angels, I believe in 2013 or 2014. He passed away in 2015. And so there's some history there, and there's nothing directly tying the Angels to it, but, you know, there shows something
where there's smoke, there might be fire.
Right. Well, so I'll get Chase in because I know he loves baseball so much, but this is one that he'll do. So, but like Chase, explain why, you know, the Angels didn't sell Skaggs the drugs. Why are the Angels a part of this? Like, if it was everyday situation, this happens all the time, unfortunately. And there's nobody to recover. Why don't we just sue the dude who sold it to him? You know, why is that?
Yeah, so just to bring it down to a more real world analogy where that most people can kind of grasp, a car accident. Mm-hmm. You have a guy that drives a moving van for your moving company.
Okay.
You know that he speeds a lot. All his buddies call him the speed demon. Or call him Speed. That's his
Speedy
nickname.
Bob.
Yeah, right.
And he's cheap too, but you don't have to pay him much, right?
That's
why they hire him. That
right.
Kind of
And then when you did the driving history, you saw that he had 5 speeding tickets. But he lives in South Carolina. Your company's in Georgia. But you're like, all right, 5 speeding tickets, that's not that bad, right? Well, it turns out that he has 36 speeding tickets in South Carolina. He's got 10 at-fault accidents. And then that guy goes out and is speeding and tries to blow through a red light and kill somebody. You have, as an employer, if you're going to actually benefit from someone doing a job for you, and you have a responsibility to supervise and vet that person, make sure that they're qualified and responsible in the way that they're doing their job, then you put that person, that man that had that you knew had a reputation, in a position where he could hurt people, and you have some fault and some blame in that, and it's an important thing to talk about here too, just because of how many different people acted in this. To talk about comparative negligence, because California has a comparative negligence
what is
statute.
Comparative negligence?
It's where the jury gets to actually compare the negligence of all the people involved, and decide who is responsible. So let's just say, for instance, they decide that the value of this pitcher's life is $100 million. Well, you know, the pitcher is the one that snorted the pill up his nose, not the Angels. The guy, Eric K., he was the one that sold it to him, not the Angels, right?
Yeah.
But the Angels allowed an environment where that kind of thing was going on, and the evidence as it came out was that they actually knew about it and didn't do anything to stop it, to reprimand, to get K out of there, you know, anything. And so a jury gets to consider that when they're deciding who's at fault and at what portion of the fault is theirs. So if in this case it's $100 million and they decide that the Angels are 20% at fault, Angels are responsible for paying $20 million.
Yeah. And that's the big thing too on that same kind of hypothetical, Chase, is that K is not going to be able to pay this amount, whatever the verdict was going to be, and so that's why the corporation is brought in. You know, and the real world application is, I mean, that's why we have to bring in companies and that have some kind of insurance, because you get $100 million verdict against K. Sean, what happens?
Absolutely nothing. Besides heartbreak. I mean, when you think about it, like Chase said, in real world application to people like us, if you were to get a great verdict against someone that had no insurance, typically an individual's largest asset of the large majority of the population is their home.
Yeah.
Usually it is.
And I'm sure Kay's got some money,
yeah.
but he's not going to have $100 million.
Usually it's mortgaged out.
Right.
And then there's bankruptcy protections that a person can go through that they're going to save their home from that. I mean, they might have to sell it and go get a different home that's, And
the corporation
but you're not going to automatically just say, oh, well, this guy's got a $1.7 million home. At least that's coming to me. No, that's not going to happen.
And the corporation's going to do the bankruptcy ordeal and all that too, but the Angels aren't going to do that. Do you know that? You got to bring them in.
You just made me think about something. When I was younger, I don't remember if it was like an uncle or somebody who used to say this, but we would be driving and like if the car, I don't know, like if an accident was about to happen, it was the other person's fault. I think it was my uncle. And he would say, oh, I'm about to own me a Mercedes.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, like he was saying, like, if you hit my car, like I'm going to own your car. And I don't know why he would say that, but what you just said is like, well, he was not right? I mean.
Yeah, definitely. He was not right.
Once again.
Well, he's no longer with us, so he's not going to hear this. He's here in heaven right now. Okay,
wrong. But sounds like a water boy.
I was like, so anyway, that's
medulla oblongata.
Look at the things that you learn years later.
Yeah, crocodiles are ornery because their teeth hurt. Mama was wrong.
Because they don't have no toothbrush.
But
I'm glad I could give you a waterboy reference. You're welcome.
So that's why I found this case interesting in a lot of different ways. But just the legal side of it is, why are the Angels in there? Obviously, it's because they have the biggest pockets and they're least likely to be able to get out of any kind of judgment. The second part is the process and how it went down, so to speak. So this case has been going on for a long time. The trial had been going on for, I think, a couple of months, and then all of a sudden they settle it. I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to talk to y'all about, and why does that happen? Obviously, I know, but let's just kind of talk about why that happens, and what would lead to something. Because there was a.
I'm about to say, I'll tell you why this case settled.
It came back that the Angels had liability. That was determined, but the percent was not known.
That's right.
So then, as attorneys,
and that bringing that back to Georgia, we just recently had a change in our law for personal injury cases that. We used to be able to, if a case didn't get resolved and we tried it, we just tried the case.
Sure.
We gave the jury all the information with regards to who was at fault, the causes, what the injuries were, what the damages were, and everything. And just recently, as of last year, that changed by our wonderful legislatures who are, just trying to save money for the everyday citizens of Georgia. That was sarcastic.
I was literally just about to say, I feel a little bit of sarcasm.
To a rule where if it was chosen, the trial could be what's called bifurcated.
Which I just had. We just tried one.
Yeah, where he just handled one. Where at first, without hearing anything about really the evidence of injuries, what the medical expenses were, what the damages were, just the jury had to determine whether or not this defendant was at fault.
Without hearing any evidence?
No, they heard evidence, but imagine a car accident case.
Okay.
Where all we focus on is this car accident and was this person at fault?
And it basically stops at the impact.
So let me see if I'm following. Just let me layman this for a second. So what you're saying is that they're only looking at the facts of what happened and not at the repercussions down the line.
Correct. Absolutely. Okay. We're not looking at the injuries, the proximate cause of the injuries, or what the medical expenses were, the damages, pain and suffering. None of that comes in.
They do have to prove proximate cause. That's it.
In the first one, they do of the injuries.
That's what makes it a little
weird. So you get that all in there, but you don't get to get in what the medical bills are.
The extent of the injury or anything like that, unless... Because in order to prove liability, you have to prove causation, and causation included in that is proximate cause. And this is something that a lot of Georgia lawyers and Georgia judges are wrestling with right now, because this is a new law for us.
Well, it counteracts the new law. It it makes it where
you got to go into that, but don't go into that.
Yeah, you can't do it. It's weird. And the judges don't know yet either. They're still wrestling with it too. So
right.
We'll see.
So I'll tell you what it does and the function of it. And the reason it was passed as part of tort reform. And tort reform.
We're talking about Georgia, just to make sure the listeners know. We're talking about Georgia.
That's
so
it was passed in California, obviously.
But
this was bifurcated. Yep. So you can settle a case at any time of the trial. You could say one word at your opening statement, and they could lean over to you and offer you an amount, and you could accept it, and the whole thing's over. Right.
That hasn't happened yet at one of my trials.
Well, and sometimes it happens, Chase, just to kind of try to explain it a little more, is like the defense or the prosecution or plaintiff or whatever, they may not like what the jury pull. And they go, well, my case, I thought it was a good case, and now it's just a mediocre case, or vice versa for the defense. Anyway, it's that same point. It's not uncommon for a case to be resolved during, right before, anything.
But like in your case, in your case that you recently tried, the defense felt very good about liability, that they were not going to be held liable. Then they got held liable. Then we moved on to the damages portion of it, right? But what they get to do is they get to then do a risk assessment. Once liability is determined, they're saying, okay, well, that didn't go the way we thought. So what are the possible outcomes? And let's do a risk assessment for, do we go forward and allow 12 strangers who have already done something we don't want, right? To have a chance to do something else we don't want.
Right.
And is it better to have the bird in the hand and know cut your losses? Exactly. So it gives them that that's the purpose behind saving, or this is how insurance companies and big corporations save money in that situation, in that they can calculate and determine what their losses are themselves versus the possibility of getting just sideswiped by a rogue jury or somebody just.
And on this case, Chase, on that same line, what I think is interesting and why it happened that the Angels settled or wanted to settle is because they knew, like you're saying, they didn't know the percent. Like in my case, we knew that the person was held 100%. All the Angels knew is that they were held, they were found liable, but they didn't know the percent yet. In a normal situation, you would want to know the percent. But in this situation, why I think the Angels moved to get this resolved when they knew that they were going to be held at least somewhat liable is that the amount of money that's in play, that's possible for a judgment like this. If a normal person like us, yes, our life is, in my opinion, it's the most valuable thing I got, right? That's it. But the earning history and all that stuff comes into play, and that's what talk about what the value of a person's life. Well, one of the weird and great things about baseball is all about numbers. So I can pretty much tell you just at least the financial part of Skaggs' life. The number was going to be big, and that's not even taking into account the other things.
Based on this is prior just performance,
earning potential,
sponsorships,
right? So the Angels go, well, I know his earning potential. I mean, we can figure that out, and then you still have to do all the other things that come into play. So they know it's going to be a huge number, and they got to cut it off. As soon as they can, because they know they're going to be somewhat. Yeah,
and there's going to be value in them knowing what that number is.
Yep.
We can work within our budget to pay this, and it's more valuable to us to have a set number that we can live with than risk getting really hammered.
There is certainly a value of certainty, and that's what we try to explain to our clients a lot of times when they may have expectations that may be a little bit unreasonable, higher than expected, or we may be able, we may be at a settlement point that is just under what we really value the case at.
Right.
When you have to have that conversation and say, like you said, bird in the hand is
and time.
And time, absolutely. We think your case should settle for $150,000, and they've offered $130,000 right now. We could persist, which I think we would get the $150,000. But it might be a year and a half or 2 years from now.
And we might have to spend $10,000
We might have
to
depose, 1, 2, 3 doctors and pay for
so you're not going to get that money anyway.
Reporters, transcripts, things like that.
And then they still have the right to appeal.
Yeah, and we might get the 150. We may have spent 10, so you might be getting an additional 10.
Right.
2 years from now. Possibly,
right?
What do you want to do?
Yeah,
and a lot of times, our clients are reasonable, and they're like, well, yeah, that doesn't make
a whole lot of sense, right?
I think it's important to note, like the overall takeaway for business owners out there is to examine.
So what this means is, so let's move into that part of the So what this means for you out there
is
to
place yourself in the shoes of just being the general manager of the Angels when you have a player who has drug issues, and you have a person in the clubhouse that has access to the players that has been reported to have provided them with drugs. There was all kinds of weird behavior that he was erratic behavior.
Yeah, there's weird stuff I didn't even talk about, but he to me it was like he was the court jester. Okay, the stuff I read where it was like he would have people throw fastballs at him, like just or he ate a pimple off of somebody's back.
Stuff like that.
Almighty. When you really have to go there?
Well, I mean,
I didn't have it in the original.
It goes to knowledge.
It's just weird.
But it goes to the level of mismanagement and lack of supervision, and you're basically just allowing these people to run amok in this organization, and it's foreseeable that this kind of thing would happen to one of your players if you know that you've got a guy that's been to drug rehab, that's providing players with drugs, that the players have problems with drugs, and you're not doing anything about it. The public, a jury is not going to be happy about that. And so the same is true if you're running a moving business, if you're running a landscaping business, and they're driving DOT vehicles around and stuff like that, and these guys have drug issues or just driving issues altogether.
DUIs.
You have a real responsibility to not place that person in a position to hurt the public. And if you do, there is reperections for not only the person that caused it, but also for the business owner that put it in there.
Chase, I say it all the time on premise stuff is, and this one isn't exactly premise, but it's knowledge. I mean,
and they had it.
Well, it's even that. It's the knew or should have known.
Right.
And when you get
that's what I mean.
when you get into the discovery phase of a case.
Because nobody's going to go, oh, yeah, we knew.
Yeah.
You know what
I mean? In the discovery case of a...
we thought it would be fun.
You know what? Shocking that never happened.
We honestly thought that guy eating pimples off people's back.
Yeah. We thought he was good.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, the discovery phase of a case is really the time to do additional investigation. You've already investigated the case as best you could through the legal manners that you could prior to filing the lawsuit. But discovery is about, being able to, subpoena and have depositions of people that are on the opposite side.
Right.
And they're sitting down, swearing to tell the truth and everything. And that's where you find all this information like, yeah, this guy was a jackass. Yeah. He was, always giving out drugs, eating pimples off people's back, taking fastballs. That's the kind of information that you accumulate. And the more people that
the one thing I'm going to remember from this
the
episode.
more people that you have, saying this, and the more people that you have saying, if he was the go-to guy to get drugs, the more likely it is for you to be able to prove to a jury that the upper management and the Angels themselves knew or should have known. If this guy knew and this guy knew and this guy knew, well, it just leads you with more credibility to that knowledge question and lends, looks bad for a jury because a jury is going to think reasonably usually and think, Everybody knew what this guy was doing.
Yeah.
How could you say that you didn't?
Well, I wanted to finish, but sorry to interrupt you, Lens. But I wanted to at least probably the same thing. I wanted to talk about like what goes into valuing the life and that kind of thing.
So for practical takeaways, I think this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this case is that obviously we deal very much at our law firm in wrongful death.
Yeah.
And so when you break it down to like practical, what you, the viewer, can take away from this is, I think a lot of times what is a big question that people don't understand is how do you calculate what a life is worth, right? Like we dabbled in it a little bit when we were talking about, these changes in the law and not being able to see the big picture. But, and I'll be the first to say from the layman seat over here, I probably did not understand this until I started doing marketing for a law firm in that, wait a minute, not only is, when a wrongful death happens, it's not just what has happened right then and there. It is, if I were to, I'll use myself as the example because I'm the best example to use while I'm talking about it, right? Is that if I were to be gone tomorrow, you would then be able, from a wrongful death, right? You'd then be able to evaluate my life differently, not just this is what happened to her. And so talk a little bit about that if y'all will.
Your life would be worth billions of dollars.
That's right. I'll tell you this. I'll let y'all handle the I want to do I'll do the earning parts. How about that? Because I know it well for
you
baseball.
Can use me as an example
I'm just saying this case.
If you want to.
But there's other things besides earnings. Y'all take that away.
Yeah, I mean that's just
future earnings. I'm sorry.
So there's non-economic damages, and that's just the value of the person's life and the connection that the family would have had to that particular person. And a lot of times in the wrongful death cases, especially when it's young children, you have a father that's not really around, and the father comes and tries to bring a wrongful death case. There's some problems in presenting these non-economic damages of his loss for the of his connection with his children, because there's an estate claim that is owned by the people that are left behind, but there's also a survival action, and that's an action for the suffering that associated with the actual death that the person experienced while they were in the process of dying. And so everything that you can think about,
that can be 10 seconds, it can be hours, it can be I don't
weeks,
remember
months,
the exact
years,
time frame, but there is no, you can have something that if
somebody
you're suffering for 5 seconds, that still can count.
So it's just about, we have a case where someone passed away, they were alive, but they were hit and pushed into a ditch, and they had all kinds of wounds and ended up drowning in a ditch that was overflowed with water. So they're, not only crushed by all this metal and plastic and whatever and having all kinds of terrible pain, they're also gasping for air and just breathing in water for the last moments of their life. If you've got to sign up for a way to go, that is not
the way.
You'd pay a lot of money. You'd pay a lot of money not to go that way. Right? So that's part of what the survival action is about. But there's also an economic calculation that has to be done in these cases. And it's difficult to explain to families a lot of times, because you might have a wrongful death case with a person that's 89 years old and retired. And their life expectancy is
2
2 years
negative.
and they're not working, they're not bringing an income, but that was not the case with this guy. He was bringing an income. He was a young guy. And Reed, you can talk about that.
That's what we talked a little bit about it, but the Angels were scared of is because he's a starting pitcher. Starting pitchers make a lot of money, and in baseball there's all kind of variables, but in his situation, Mr. Skaggs, he was almost to free agency, and so the first 3 years you're pre-arbitration. That means you basically get a salary. Usually at that time it's like $550,000 a year. And then those next 3 years you start going through arbitration, which is like, it's a way that you get big raises, but it's not a fight.
Baseball terms up on the screen.
So, but year 3 through 6 you get arbitration, then you're a free agent. So this year I think the arbitration number is for the highest one's like $31 million. In 2019, it wasn't that, but it was significant. And he's not the best. He wasn't the best player, but he was certainly a good one. So his last arbitration was like $3.7 million, and that's going to be the lowest amount in the rest of his life. He was 27.
Yeah.
That's the prime of a pitcher. He's a starting pitcher. He was just about to enter free agency. His last 2 years were above average, WRC plus of like 104, 103, something like that. Baseball people will know what that means. But that means essentially that means at 27 years old, 28 years old, as a free agent, that is, as a starting pitcher, that's above average. You're probably looking at like $150 million contract for the next one. Okay. And then that doesn't even mean the end of your career. That just means the next contract. So he was just on the verge of hitting that huge contract for what all Major League Baseball players want, is to get through arbitration and get that one big contract, and he was a year away from it.
All right. So what does that mean?
So that means the Angels know that if a jury finds us and that the Angels are at fault, that if we go into future earnings, that his potential future earnings, and then you calculate after baseball, but just in baseball, we're probably $250 million. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would argue.
That's before sponsorships.
That's what I mean. Yeah. And then after baseball, you have
commercials.
You could be an announcer.
Broadcaster.
So in this case, they made the right move.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, by their estimations, they paid a third, maybe half of.
That's why I say this. That's why I found the case interesting, because the future earnings could be so high that the Angels couldn't take a risk on even finding out what percentage liability they were assigned. They had to pay and get out, because what if they were found 100% at fault and just future earnings, the jury found it $300 million, and then that's only one part of the damages.
That's only one part.
Yeah, I mean, so
well, and the worst thing about it is well, not the worst thing, but something that you have to be able to somehow craft into a trial of that case, if you were trying it. Yeah, is the uncertainty. If the next year he would have had $100 million contract.
Right.
And then the Angels would have, or the opposite. Yeah. The Angels would have won the World Series, and he was the MVP, and he pitched 3 games in the World Series.
Exactly.
And he would have been a lot more valuable than the 300 million that we are maybe estimating.
Yeah. And like we talked,
or he could have been injured.
When we do it, we have a person like us, and we go, okay, well, he's a plumber, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, electrician, and you have some comps. But in baseball, you have hundreds of years of comps, and you go, "Oh, this guy's stats look exactly like this guy's stats. What did this guy get paid?" And then the financial part of it in this case for the plaintiff is very.
They had a lot of data.
Had a lot of data, way more data than we would ever have.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed this episode where you got to nerd out on baseball for a little bit for us.
I could go forever on it.
What was that acronym? WRCs?
WRC plus.
WRC pluses. Yeah. I'll have to look that up and become familiar with it.
Yeah. Okay, well.
If 100 is even, he was like 107, 108, something like that his last 2 years.
Just barely over 100.
If you're over 100 in MLB on that, then you're a starting pitcher and you can start 30 games, you're going to make at minimum
you do realize I was trying to wrap you up just a second ago, right?
That was it. I had to do that.
Did I need to kick
$20 million a year.
$20
million.
All right, so let's. This is important, I think, to close on, because we talked about this in a previous episode, and this is weird that, like, the previous episode where we talk about how it's so important for some of these things to happen because of the change that they probably inspire, right? We talked about that in a previous episode. And so the policy changes. The MLB has amended its drug testing policy after Skaggs' death to include opioids and cocaine for the first time, previously only tested for performance-enhancing drugs and banned stimulants.
That was back in the stimulants are back in the 70s.
It's a good thing that Darryl Strawberry is no longer...
He got popped a couple times.
So we want to know from the viewers, though, did you know about this case? And what are your thoughts on how it played out? You know, this was in December of 2025 is when the settlement happened, right? So this is fairly recent with some of the news of this. But we want you to just take away from this. I mean, we gave you a lot to digest there in all different directions. And so take with it what you will. Okay. But next time on the Layman's Law School, we are going to talk about a truck driver who tried CBD and then failed a drug test for THC and gets fired. Turns out THC free wasn't so free at all. And so we'll break down the lawsuit and the law on the next episode. So in the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button and subscribe and follow us. If you are an audio listener, make sure you're following us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. And we will see you next time.